Welcome back to the Teloso Tech Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Randy is gone. He's officially been canceled.
I killed him.
We're sorry.
He kept on talking about
just couldn't take
marshmallows,
it
and it made
anymore.
me really hungry. So hungry that I killed him and then turned him into a marshmallow. And I don't know where I'm going with this. Hi, everyone. How's it going?
You've been convicted. There you have it.
Convicted?
It's public.
Convicted?
You
Am I in
admitted it.
jail now?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
You're in trouble.
Okay.
But speaking of trouble and going back on one's word, I've been very proudly in favor of USB-C, right, on everything. I want the iPhone to have Type-C. I've been pushing for it.
And the Tesla as well, right? Yeah.
In the Teslas, yeah. I have finally acquired a negative USB-C story that goes against everything I stand for, I guess.
Interesting.
So
do tell.
I thought because it was negative, it would be wrong of me to keep it secret because it goes against what I was in favor of. But I was doing a stream a couple weeks ago on my MacBook in the car. Mm-hmm. And the car's got the two USB-C ports in the center console that I'm plugged into, the high wattage ones. And I was like trying to use my phone to plug in. And so I had Lightning in my iPhone 10 to try to get Webcam Plus to work. Then I had USB-C on the other end. But it was... the Lightning cable was from that center console. So I reach in there and I grab the USB-C cable, plug it into the MacBook, and the MacBook starts charging, but the iPhone doesn't show up. It's because it was the USB-C cable that was plugged into the car, not the USB-C cable that was plugged into the iPhone.
Okay.
And because it was a big cable mess down there, I got them mixed up. So I was like, oh, crap, this is the wrong cable. So I disconnect the USB-C cable from the MacBook to try to plug it back into the center console because I knew that there was one vacant USB-C cable in here somewhere. Mm-hmm. I plugged that into the center console again, and then I reach in to grab the other USB-C port, which I'm like, oh, this one's for the iPhone, and I couldn't find it because I had basically taken the same USB-C cable, which is the same connector on either side, and plugged them into both ports of the center console. So the car was infinitely charging itself.
Infinite power.
But then I found the other end of the iPhone cable, and I was like, wait, is this the one that goes into the Mac? Oh, wait. By that time, I had already started the stream. So basically, my MacBook didn't have power, and it didn't have the iPhone connection. And I was like, okay, I have run into that example where having USB-C on everything is now confusing because now I don't know which cable goes where, and I had to kind of...
That's terrible. I'm sorry to hear about that. That sounds very stressful and awful, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through that experience. That just ruins my day, just for so much empathy that I have for you and your troubles. And man, I mean, I don't know how you're going to recover from it, but know that I'm here to help you through it. It's going to be okay.
That's good.
We can work through
feel
this
much better
USB-C
now.
debacle, and it'll get better. I promise. There is recovery
Thank
at
you.
the end of the road. We can do this.
Thank you. I know. Your last couple weeks have been so easy and so smooth. I felt like I needed to stop with all of your happy things going on in your life and just let you know that I'm struggling with this. But does this story, to bring it back to your experience, does this make you feel better about getting a 14 Pro with Lightning opposed to not getting a 15 Ultra with Type-C or something? I'm guessing you're not too invested in making sure your iPhone has Type-C.
I'm pretty fine with Lightning. I have no issue besides well, actually, there has been a few times when I've wanted to, I guess, okay, so I've got maybe a smaller story. Basically, what you're alluding to with the wonderful weeks that I've been having. We've had some crazy storms coming through California, if you haven't heard. If you haven't been looking at the news or even looked up in the sky if you live in California, it's been raining cats
Mike
and
almost
dogs.
died.
I almost died a couple times now. I mean, I got punctured in the thumb pretty good, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's been horrible.
Huge cyclone came through at one point over my house, ripping trees and destroying everything. Fun times. But during that time, I think I mentioned in the last podcast, I was using a solar topped battery bank.
Right.
And I think at one point, either this week or the week before, I was trying to find a plug to plug in the iPhone or something else. No, I was trying to charge the battery bank. That's what I was doing. So I was trying to plug it into the wall so that way, because we got power back for a brief time. So I'm like, need to charge everything right now before we lose power again. And so I'm trying to find a cord, and all I can find is USB-C to USB-C and USB-A to USB-C. I'm like, gosh dang it. No. It used USB-C, and I only found USB-A. No. Okay. I got the story straight now. I'm sorry. So, battery bank can
Your iPad is Type-C, right?
It is, and it's nice. I love it. But battery bank has USB-A and USB-C port. Which one do you think charges the battery bank? The USB-A or the USB-C?
C, right?
Yes. I didn't get that initially, so I plugged into the wall with the USB-A because a wall adapter I had was a USB plug into it, right? So my silly butt was thinking, all right, USB-C into wall plug and then USB-A into battery bank. Not charging it at all. So I wasted like 5 minutes on that thinking it was charging. It wasn't. Thankfully, I realized it after looking at it for a while. So then I tried reversing it.
It was outputting power to the house.
I tried reversing it, and it wouldn't work because I didn't have, of course, a power brick that had USB-A on it. I couldn't find one. I couldn't find one anywhere for some reason because heat of the moment, I guess. So I was struggling to try to find a cord that was USB-C to USB-C because I couldn't find that either. And all I could find was USB-C to Lightning or USB-A to USB-C, but that wouldn't work because I only had a USB-C power brick. So that was a struggle for me with USB-C. But it just made me appreciate that at least with all the iPhone products I've owned, or I guess iPads or whatever, at least I have a whole bunch of cords with USB-C on one side or USB-A on one side to Lightning. So that way I don't have to try to figure out, is it USB-A to USB-C or USB-C to USB-C? And do I have the power brick for it? Yeah. So that wasn't really a short story. But what I'm getting at is, yes, there are some shortfalls. It
expresses the frustration.
Yes.
And that's one of the downsides.
But to answer your original question, I'm perfectly, after that and hearing your story, I'm perfectly still happy with my Lightning port on my iPhone 14 Pro. And do not foresee upgrading it just because the next iPhone hopefully has USB-C, which I think should. I don't think any of the leakers have said otherwise, but
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting any day now to be like, so-and-so claims iPhone 15 will keep Lightning, and no one said it. The fact that no one has said it makes me feel more comfortable about expecting
I think I'm the only one who's claimed that the iPhone 15 regular, or maybe some other people have, but at least I want to go on record and say I'm the only one that has claimed that the regular iPhone 15 and then probably the 15 Plus will have Lightning, while the Pros have USB-C. But again, I've got it written down on a sticky note somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know where the sticky note
is. The only reason I don't count you is because you haven't leaked anything previously, which is why I don't.
The engineer who works at nondescript business in Bay Area. Yes, I'm definitely not a good leaker right now, which is good.
So far, you're 0 to 0. So I'm like, if Mike starts feeding us accurate info and then tells us that, I'll believe you a bit more. But until then, everyone with a track record has said it is switching to Type-C. It's just a matter of how fast the Type-C connector will be. But I will take a slow USB-C over Lightning. But
I think what's even funnier is I asked my friends who work at Apple here in the Bay, like, what do you think? Like, do you know what's coming next? And they're like, I think another iPhone. Oh, wow. They don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not like
Yeah.
in the secret rooms in Apple Park or whatever, but like even
Sure.
so, like even with their roles, they're like, we're just making Apple products. Like it's
Yeah.
maybe the Mac Pro comes
No,
out
that's
this year. We don't know.
That's a big decision that someone high up gets to decide. And
Right.
I would love to hear the debates they probably have internally about the pros and cons and stuff. I would love, it's probably not that different from the same debates we're all having out here. They're like, well, but Lightning is already here and people already use Lightning. Yeah, but this is forcing us to switch. And what, yeah, they probably go back and forth too. But yeah, the 14 Pro probably going to be one of the longest lasting iPhones to keep Lightning around. There it is.
It's beautiful.
But
and dirty. Dear Lord, this thing is dirty.
No, I'm glad you're happy with it. I hope it's still working well as the only person on the show to have the latest iPhone at this time.
No, Randy has a 14, doesn't he? Or no, does he have the
13 mini.
He has the 13 mini, but does he have a large? I guess maybe that's no. He has a large phone, doesn't he? Or did he get rid of
He
that?
has a 13 Pro Max and a 13
Randy,
mini,
tell us, what
but
do you
he
have?
I'll tell you. I remember.
How do you remember
He
this?
got rid of all of his 14 Pros after he took all of the baby pictures.
I could have sworn he kept around one phone for like as a dedicated camera.
Yeah, that's the 13 Pro Max. That's the one he kept.
So there we go. That's what I'm thinking of. Obviously
But it's
shows
not the
how much
latest
I pay
anymore.
attention during these podcasts. Or outside the
I
podcast.
remember all kinds of these. I like all of my family members' phones and all my friends' phones.
It usually
I'm like,
goes in
he
one
has
ear
this
and out
one.
the other for me. Like I love the conversation. I remember the emotions of the conversation, but when it comes to like all the details that
It's
we
very
talked about,
emotional.
what was that? I was talking with my wife last week, and she's like, "How's the podcast?" I'm like, "It was good." I don't remember what we talked about for the first like 40 to 50 minutes.
See, this is why we record them so
Exactly.
we can keep track.
Right, so we can keep track of these conversations. So that way, when I'm like 50, it's like I think I did a podcast at some point.
What did we talk about?
I think we talked about Apple. Yeah. Don't know. It's not what I'm going to sound like in my 50s. Oh, dear Lord. But
Where do you fall on the ringer switch discussion? Because that's been kind of the hot topic of the last week.
I remember
Because you were
watching
defending the solid state buttons.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm still in that band camp of like, if the ringer switch becomes a ringer button, sure. I don't care at this point because...
That doesn't bother you?
No, I mean,
Okay.
your argument was get rid of the ringer switch, I think, right? Because you don't... I mean...
Because I don't use
Fair
it.
enough. Your use case is
Therefore,
different
no one
than
uses
many
it.
others as well, because there's a lot of people who do
Yes.
go into work or have businesses where they need to have their phone silent, whether they want the ringer on or off. And yes, another answer could just be like you posed in the video, just swipe on the screen, hit the silent button, and that's it. That's all you need to do.
Well, my solution, to be clear, is not that people need to be able to mute their phone quickly. It's my solution is the phone should always be muted. It shouldn't have ringer on mode, because mine is never on ringer on mode, and it's like that doesn't cause problems for me. Maybe because I'm an Apple Watch enjoyer, but
Average
I still don't
Apple
like
Watch
phones making.
enjoyer.
I still don't like phones making noises for notifications. It annoys me. I don't like it when my Mac does it. I don't like it when my phone does it, or my watch. I prefer the taps. I just think taptic feedback is the most peaceful and non-intrusive way to notify people. So I'm just like mute all the time. People are like, what if I need to mute it really quickly? It should always be muted in my view, which is why I'm like, get rid of it. But
Yeah. I think the cases of like people losing their phone is a good reason why the ringer should always be on unless you tell it to be off.
well, I ping it.
Yeah, but what if you don't have a watch?
That sounds like a you problem.
True, there are people in the world that buy an iPhone and don't buy a watch or an Apple Watch. Or they buy another
Isn't
watch.
that a shrinking demographic at this point? Like,
I don't know. I'd have to look at the stats between those that buy iPhones and those that also bought an Apple Watch at some point. I would think maybe it's high. I agree. Like, it's definitely a dwindling population of those that don't buy an
It's
Apple
high.
Watch. But I still think I still think those people exist, in which my wife is not one of them, but she still loses her phone and she's always confused about where she left it. And I always have to remind her, just use your watch to ping it. I don't know why you.
Right.
There's people that are forgetful.
It's so helpful.
Yes, and I agree. It's something that really helps her out. She uses it practically every day, which is pretty hilarious. It's not because she has any condition or medical condition. It's just because she's that type of person who takes their phone and then leaves it like on the couch and then somehow slips underneath the pillow and stays there. Or
I do the exact same thing. There's no shame in it at all.
No shame at all. I think it's being human. It's it's how humans are. You're not supposed to take in all the information and retain it.
Yeah. Isn't there a growing number of use cases where Apple's answer is, well, you should buy X or you should be a subscriber of whatever, right?
Like their business. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's my point of like, okay, get rid of the ringer switch. If you're that worried about the phone making noise, you should wear an Apple Watch. Like, to me, it's a classic Apple response of the solution is over here. It's another purchase in the ecosystem. Because in that same argument, so I'm biased in that way by saying I would be okay if there was no ringer switch.
Right.
The same way, I could say I want Apple to support Spotify on the HomePods. I want to be able to just tell it to play a song and play it from my Spotify account. It won't do that, but their response is, well, just sign up for Apple Music or sign up for Pandora One or something.
You mean this HomePod Mini?
Yeah.
I got a new one,
packages,
by the way.
But
yeah, I went to Apple and got
a new one?
Unfortunately, they don't give you a new one for free when yours is broken. Instead, they give you a 20%
How did it break?
Well, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast multiple times. It started singing Apple music randomly during the night. Wasn't because...
Well, I remember that, but I'm just wondering what caused it to do that. That wasn't like covered under warranty or anything.
They don't know, and I don't know, but they didn't want to. Well, the thing is, I bought it in 2021, so technically it's out of warranty at this point. But even so, it's a problem that I'm not in control of, and it happened on its own, and it happened within like just right outside the warranty window. So I was hoping for some leniency, like they did with the my AirPod Pros. They gave me a little bit some leniency.
Sometimes they're casual,
but with the HomePod Mini, they're like, no way. These cost more, and they were more lenient on them than this thing, which I guess makes sense. But even so, this thing costs like $100 retail price or whatever, or $99, whatever. But they didn't want to budge, so I got this for like, I think technically $79.99, but taxes and all that brings it to like $84, $86 or whatever.
Dang.
So I got a new one, and with that came. Did it come with it? I don't know. I'm trying out Apple Music right now, and unfortunately, I'm getting hooked on it, and it's not good.
Oh, you didn't go to Tidal?
No. So I guess before I jump into this, to close out
this tidal wave.
Stop it. To close out the ringer switch conversation, just so that way we can bring that to a close. I think changing the switch to a button is a nice transition, because the ringer switch is still there. It's still acting as the same thing. It's just instead of a toggle, it's now a button. And yeah, you might.
Don't you think that'd be harder to change though?
If
to
it's
reach in and feel for.
If it's a solid state button, maybe If it's dark, I guess so. But in that case, you just activate the light switch or the flashlight on the back, and then you can try to figure out where the button is. But I don't think. I think it's the same thing with like getting rid of the audio jack. Like, yeah, it's a bummer, but I don't think it's a huge sacrifice moving from audio jack to just lightning and then offering a wireless AirPods, or having a dongle.
This is your wireless ringer switch right here. This is
stop it with the Apple Watch. I'm trying to focus on the ringer switch. No. I'm perfectly fine with the ringer switch, whether it's solid state or not. The ringer button, or whatever we want to call this thing. If it's just a button,
this could be a mappable button. Maybe could that be the
action button
justification? Yeah, I don't know if you were following the channel back then, but they made battery cases for the iPhone 11 series,
Okay.
and there was a camera button on it. It was the weirdest thing. Apple added a camera button to your iPhone if you bought that battery case, that once you clicked it, it just opened the camera app. And then you could click it again as a shutter, like it would take the picture.
But Drew,
And they never...
I just turn on OBS, and then my iPhone 11 turns on its camera, so I don't even have to press a button.
What's that like? I don't have that pleasure, but
you will soon.
I just mean, maybe because Apple's seeing people like me that are like, I don't ever use the switch, I keep it muted all the time. Maybe that makes them like, okay, let's make it a mute/ringer switch when people want it to be. And then maybe it's a camera button for people that want to map it to, like an Apple Watch Ultra has an action button. Maybe that's what it is.
That'd probably be something that I'd love to look into, like the data analytics of a ringer switch, of just like how many times.
I ran a poll on it once.
Well, yeah, there's a poll, but like the actual hard data of all of the iPhones out there, and they all have ringer switches, how often are they toggled? And like, is it that substantial enough to where it's worth keeping it, or just switching it out with a button and like still doing the same thing, so that way you're not destroying it like the headphone jack? Or even like maybe on iPhone 18 or whatever, getting rid of the ringer switch entirely, whether it's a button or a toggle switch. You just eliminate it entirely, and it just turns into buy an Apple Watch if you want to toggle the sound without touching the touch screen on the iPhone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I would say I'm perfectly fine with a ringer button. I don't think it's a big issue. I think if you either add a texture to it, like make it seem like it's a ringer switch with like a little thin line on that button, that might help. In that case, you can kind of tell what's volume and what's ringer. Or if it's just a little stubby button, or if they rearrange the buttons so that way you've got the volume in another location compared to the ringer switch or power and all that. Maybe they move the power up to the top again, and then ringer switch is on the side. So now you can easily know where the volume and where ringer is. That could be an approach too. But
I saw someone suggesting that because the renders of the 15 are like a combined volume rocker, like they're not two separate buttons anymore. They were like, maybe if this is solid state and more dynamic or whatever, customizable, like they could recreate that old remote control that they had on the earpods. Okay. It's like up and down volume, and then in the middle it pauses and plays.
Right. That could be, that's not a bad idea.
I'm trying to visualize, like, they have to have something in mind for this solid state button thing that's more than just, it's now solid state. Like, that's so stupid to me. Like, they have to have another dynamic button, you know. There's got to be some software thing that this enables that I just haven't thought of yet. Maybe a way for you to pause and play just from those button controls could be it. I don't know if that would be intuitive or not, but I could.
Who knows?
Something.
I think that's a great idea. That's like a great implementation idea. Like using an existing, or like bringing back that nostalgia of the earpods and all that, being able to do that, but on your phone now, and it's basically the same thing, except now the buttons don't even click. Now you just get the feeling of clicking, but it still does something that you found familiar when you had an iPhone with the earbuds back in the day.
Yeah.
It could be a possible solution. I like it. I like that. They should definitely do that. Now I'm a big fan of solid state buttons even more. And all just the different possibilities. I mean, I like the idea.
They probably could have done it with normal buttons, but they'll just say
do something new and different.
State.
They could easily just do a pill hole. Instead, they made Dynamic Island, which still has yet to reach its full potential, of course, because it just got introduced. But
have you been using it for anything new lately, like the score tracking or anything?
So I guess no, because I've lost hope in the sports that I've been watching, specifically the San Jose Sharks. If you follow any hockey, or at least follow any sports related to hockey, you would know that the San Jose Sharks they're basically done for the season probably by the time you're listening to this, or somewhat close. Anytime close to when this came out. They stunk, basically. in the own words of their coach. Yeah, we stunk for the 2022 and 2023 season. They're not even going to playoffs. But that's why I used the dynamic island for a lot before. Now what I find using it for mostly, or at least when it gets utilized, is for timers or for screen recordings. Or for what was the other thing? I forget. I'd have to. So again,
AirDrop?
Maybe
Now playing?
Now playing might be it then, because like I said before, Apple Music and all that. But now playing is nice. I just like. I want to see more from it. Is what I want to see from Dynamic Island is more utility, in which we will. It just came out like. It's the first iteration of it, and I don't think Apple will just be like one and done. They've never really been one and done per se. They usually give at least 2 or 3 years to it, and if it doesn't catch on, then they drop it.
I bet iOS 17 will have a bunch of stuff that maybe. I think it could put all notifications in the island, like when you get a text, if it just expanded and shrunk.
They could do so much with it. It's just I haven't thought of it because I don't really spend all day thinking about it, and I don't really find myself relying on it. I think maybe that's what Apple is good at, is making you rely on something that you didn't think about until now, and then you're like, how did I survive before this? So stuff like that.
Well, we'll all crowd around you once you get iOS 17, and we'll be like, so Mike, what's it like? Because you're alone on Dynamic Island just by yourself.
I'm all alone here. Hi.
What's going on?
Help!
We're out here drowning in the promotion ocean. Looking for that Retina River.
Oh my God, stop. Okay, so I teased it before with getting the HomePod.
Apple Music.
I finally have tried out Apple Music, and there is a noticeable...
Is this your first time?
Yes, I think so. I don't think I've tried Apple Music before. Yeah.
When's Classical coming?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I got some things about that. But Apple Music, interesting. I've had an interesting experience with it. I haven't loaded any of my playlists on it, or at least tried moving any playlists over, because I think I'm on like a couple month trial or a couple day trial.
Yeah.
Whatever the trial period is for it. I'm trying it out. And it's been interesting. I definitely can tell it's higher quality.
Really?
Using the HomePod Mini, I'd play a Spotify or a song on Spotify, for instance.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's just say, jeez, what was the song that I basically
Barry White?
No, I did not. No, I did not play Barry White's.
Let's get it on.
No, let's get it. Supernatural by Barnes Courtney.
Great song. Never heard it.
Oh, it's pretty good. I've been hooked on it for a while. I would definitely recommend it. It's a fun song. But anyways, it's got some dynamic sounds in there. Oh my goodness. So it's got some dynamic sounds. And so I tried it on Spotify. I'm like, yeah, it's the song or whatever. And then I played on through Apple Music.
It's the song.
Shut up.
Okay.
Yes. So then played it on Apple Music.
Go ahead. I'm just reading about Apple Music.
Oh, I'm sure everything. I play on Apple Music through the speaker, and I noticed that there were, I think, synth noises that I didn't hear before, and then also the bass was deeper, and all that stuff. I don't know whether it's just because the HomePod Mini was capturing just a bit more because it's Apple Music, or if it truly was Apple Music and it's dynamic range, or I guess Dolby Atmos sound,
spatial audio
and all that,
lossless possibly.
Yeah, versus Spotify just doing a Bluetooth handshake. But noticed that, I'm like, wow, that's interesting, and then tried it out in the Tesla, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it is a little bit more dynamic. This is nice.
You can hear it in the car too?
I can hear it in the car.
Wow.
And you asked before, why didn't you go with Tidal? I realized, I think last week I didn't bring it up. I went into the car to see if Tidal was on there, just to confirm, and it wasn't there.
Really?
Tidal's not there on my car. I don't know what happened to Tidal. I searched up Tidal on Tesla, and people were talking about it in forums and all that. But then I looked I tried finding any article about Tidal being missing, and a lot of it was just like, oh, I just got the car and it's not here or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I looked at Tidal's website, and on there they show like different devices that Tidal's on, and one said automotive. I'm like, oh, Tesla's going to show up here, of course. Click on it. Nothing found here, or at least was for the specific message, Tidal.com. If you go to, why did it scroll all the way down? If you go to support, then supported devices from Tidal's main page, then you can find the auto button. Oh, and then now Tesla's there. Well, this just confuses me even more because it wasn't there before and now it is.
Weird.
Maybe they were just having a website refresh at the time, but I can't find.
But yeah, you went into the app launcher and everything and it wasn't there?
It wasn't there. All I could find was the orange streaming music one that Tesla has on there. Tune in, Spotify, and Apple Music. And that's it.
Weird.
No Tidal. In which I remember Tidal being there before, but I couldn't find it. I looked through, like, tapping on Spotify and then tapping on the Spotify logo at the top to bring down the drop-down menu for other music options. It wasn't there. And then I tried, I forget what the toy box, or maybe not the toy box menu, but just the app menu, and it didn't show up there either. So that was the other reason why I'm like, okay, maybe I go for Apple Music, because I can't find Tidal in the car, so I can't even test it in the place that I'm probably going to be listening to it.
Yeah.
Most. So
I'm on a forum right now that says other people have experienced it, and it usually resolves itself after a reboot. So maybe it's a glitch, but
maybe
it's interesting that maybe you would go with Apple Music over Tidal simply off of that one glitch. Like,
well, I couldn't find it. I wanted to test it out. I made that announcement.
If it's not there, it's not there.
2 episodes ago, I'm like, I want to try out something other than Spotify, and then last week I tried to try out Tidal. It's like, it's not there in the car, and I'm gonna, of course, listen to it in the car because that's where I'm at some of the time during the day. So of course I'm gonna try it out there.
Yeah.
But if it's not there, then
that's a weird bug.
Why would I try it out, especially if it doesn't have, I mean, it may have better quality, but does it have a better handshake with the speakers that I mainly use to listen to music, being the HomePod Mini and the regular HomePods? Probably not. So let's just try out Apple Music then.
Yeah.
So
this is Tim Cook's idea after they talked with Elon at Apple HQ. He was like, hey, you should make it harder for Tidal to.
Well, what was going through my
activated.
brain was like, Tidal was on there, and then they added Apple Music. Maybe what happened is they only have one slot for high definition music, and so they're just like, take Tidal out, put Apple Music in.
I bet that's roughly what the bug was. It was something like that. You know, like, that's a high music streaming. Although I don't think Apple Music on Tesla supports lossless still.
Probably not, but it was higher quality than Spotify from what I could tell.
You could hear it.
I could definitely tell there's a little bit more bass. Maybe that's just my own bias because I knew exactly what thing I was listening to at the time. So it's kind of hard to do that blind listening test because I'm actively pressing buttons that my brain is saying, this is higher quality music service.
Yeah.
So it's going to sound better.
It would be interesting to do a blind test to see if just playing 2 different songs, if you could get them right. That would be cool. But is it mostly the sound quality that has you tempted to keep Apple Music, or are there other things you like about it?
The sound quality is definitely the main reason. The interface is meh. I tried just searching up, like, I don't know, I was in this wonderful storm. I had to go outside and repair something because it needed to get repaired during that time. And it was high gust winds and crazy rain and all that. So I was just trying to find, like, I don't know, just something on the main page that sounded interesting. Maybe new releases or whatever. I looked up new releases and it wasn't showing me things that I was a little bit more interested in. It was just playlists that I wasn't as interested in actually trying out or listening to. So based off of that, I'm like, okay, what's great for rain? And then I think I just looked up Avenged Sevenfold. And just had that playing while I was getting blown around everywhere. And that sounded good. And then I punctured my thumb. But
ouch.
Besides that, It's decent. It's mainly for the sound quality, and it sounds really nice.
I'm just picturing your review of Apple Music being your thumbs up with a big puncture in your thumb. You're like, ow, I love it.
Basically. Yeah. But that's pretty much is what's titling me over. Because it's Apple Music instead of title.
You would be mad at me if I made that joke.
Well, the dad jokes coming from you just they stunk.
They're rubbing off. Good.
But I don't know. I noticed it, and then after I went back to Spotify to listen to things, it just didn't sound good anymore.
Interesting.
So it kind of spoiled me.
You might be more of an audiophile than you think.
Unfortunately so, which isn't good.
Because I was on Apple Music for about 3 months, and then I went back to Spotify, and I didn't notice. I couldn't pick up on any detail change, but
Yeah.
we're listening to things on different devices, I guess. That might be part of it, but...
Maybe. The unfortunate thing is, on Tidal, they offer some decent, plans. Like the one that I mentioned, I think, last week or the week before, with a family plan that's maybe $2 more than what I'm paying on Spotify. Where with Apple, if I want my own profile and my wife wants her own profile, the only plan that Apple supports in that regard is the family plan. And I think that costs...
There's no two-person plan.
There's no two-person plan, or
I see.
even with the Tidal one, it's a family plan, I think, but it costs less than Apple Music's family plan, which I found surprising, but I guess that's how they...
Yeah, it's gone up. I was just looking at the prices. It's $17 a month for their family plan.
Right. So comparing that to
That's...
the $12.99 that I'm paying right now, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a hike.
That's kind of high.
Yeah. So
even the individual went up to $11 a month. I forgot about that.
That's the only detriment that I'm seeing. It's can I stay with Apple Music and justify the price that I'm paying monthly just because it sounds a tad bit better than Spotify, but for a crazy more amount, like $17 versus $13?
Is there an annual plan for family, or is it just for individual?
All I see is monthly. I can't find anything that's a yearly plan for Apple Music. Maybe.
Yeah, they hide it. I know they make it harder, but
dear Lord, I click.
If I go into settings, yeah, I guess they don't. Individual for the year is $109, which is a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, but I can't do individual. I've got a wife, Drew.
I know.
She likes listening to music too. I cannot stifle that.
Do you have an iCloud Plus plan, like iCloud storage?
It's been
okay.
I can answer it with this. It's been 475 days since my last iCloud backup.
Wow.
He
keeps good track of that.
It's only because every single time I take a screen recording, it tells me it's been 475 days since your last iCloud backup.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you pay for TV Plus? Do you play for Ted Lasso?
My wife wants to watch Ted Lasso because we love Ted Lasso and For All Mankind and all that. But I'm trying to push back because we don't really have much time. And then also there's other shows like Mando going on right now that it doesn't make sense to pay for Disney Plus, Discovery Plus, and all that.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, we want to be as frugal as we can with our streaming services. I don't want it to become giant black hole because we're already paying for premium connectivity with Tesla. So
true.
I'm already counting that as another streaming service. So
that counts, yeah. That's streaming.
To include, or I guess it's a monthly subscription, or I guess yearly. But
you're on yearly, but it's still something that is infinite cost. You'll never pay it off. It's it's an expense. It's death by 1,000 cuts. They may seem small, but when people sign up for tons of them, before you know it, you're buried in it. So I get it, but I was just looking for potential. I was like, well, if you're already paying for these things, maybe Apple One would be good. But I can't believe I almost tried to recommend Apple One to someone.
You of all people. Ugh. I would have expected Nick to do that. But
yeah, I would use up your Apple Music free trial. That's always a good idea. It's always worth free just to see what it's like, and so that you've tried it and you have experience with it. One thing that I've always hated about Apple Music, having tried it and went away from it and come back several times, is that they will never remember your library when you cancel.
Oh, that's
Which is very annoying. It's like I originally signed up for it when it was brand new back in 2015. I signed up for Apple Music, and I got all these soundtracks and all these albums, and I had this huge library of stuff. And then later on, I think in 2019 or 2020, I did a video on why I'm leaving it and about cost cutting and trying to be more conscious about all these memberships that are stacking up and how crazy it's getting. And so I canceled it. I moved to Spotify and just kind of started from scratch and rebuilt my library. But then I got another Apple Music free trial or whatever a couple of years later. And when I re-signed up for it, all of my library was gone, even though it was the same email, same account and everything. They're like, no, screw you. You left us. They're like, they're bitter. You're going to start over again. I thought that would have been a great selling point to convince people to come back. It's like, everything's right where you left it. No, they're like, screw you.
Well, that's more data they have to store in the cloud, and they don't want to do that because they keep on paying Google for space in the cloud.
I thought they could leave all of your Apple Music albums in the Music app. Like, you can still see them and sort through them, but then when you hit play, then it brings up the renew pop-up. It's like, oh, one little thing before you hit play there, just a little detail. See, this is how I would design it if I was at Apple.
Right.
It would be so much better. But for that reason alone, I would be trying to remember why you're leaving Spotify, but
because
I think Tidal might be
they're planning on going with the TikTok look and feel approach.
I forgot, yeah. The Tic-Tac approach.
This shows how old we are.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll show up in the car, but yeah, I guess if you're really interested in the higher music quality, Tidal would be an interesting one.
I just have to figure out the car issue, and that's it.
Yeah, I think nothing I'm reading says that's like an official removal. I think there's a bug, but I don't think it's
maybe it's an FSD
totally
beta
gone.
bug. Kind of dipping into the EV stuff. Maybe
maybe
it's just because I'm on the FSD beta, which basically means I'm always a version behind, and maybe they just don't want to support Tidal on a previous. No, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just it just removes
it's
that.
It's just toggled off in audio settings, apparently.
Really? Okay.
That's what some people are saying on Reddit.
I don't remember.
Everyone, you're not the only one to experience this. It appears there's lots of people that are like, "Where'd it go? Where'd it go?"
Well, it's just surprising because it was always there, and then all of a sudden it's gone. I'm like, okay, well, I guess
when the world needed him most.
Tidal disappeared. Yeah.
He vanished.
So anyways, I've been enjoying Apple Music, but with the price for it monthly for the wife and I to listen to music, I don't think it's worth it. I'll probably try out Tidal next once I figure out the car issue. And then
yeah, it's kind of cool to have a buffet style of memberships just going between all of them to see what they have to offer. I think all of them mostly offer the same thing, so my go-to response is go with whichever one you can get for cheap. Some people get them through student emails, or some people get them through other, like through Verizon or whatever membership. Don't you have Verizon?
Unfortunately.
I thought, doesn't Verizon come with something that Apple has?
I don't know what. So the thing is, it's through my mother because we agreed we do the family plan and easily get some discounts on there, so that way she doesn't get stifled by something and I don't get stifled by something else. So I'm
all in favor of that when possible.
We agreed, let's just do the family plan. If it gets too complicated, then the wife and I will split to something else and we'll bring you along or figure something out.
Do you have the 5G Get More plan?
I don't know. I don't know, Drew.
This says Apple Music is included with the 5G Get More plan. So I don't. If you have 5G Start, you can get Apple Music on them for 6 months. So that might be worth looking into. I don't know if your mom uses it or something, but like, if you're on one of the big carriers that are horrible, then max out the perks, whatever they offer, see what you can get out of it.
Sure.
That might be worth looking into. I don't know if I thought Randy got Apple Music through T-Mobile or something.
Maybe.
I can't remember, but
so many questions we have for Randy and he's not here. How coincidental.
No.
My goodness.
He's
How dare you have fun in the
experiencing the
place that
world.
you're in right now?
How dare he? I'm about to lose my Paramount Plus.
Oh, yeah? So you're watching everything on
tomorrow.
Paramount right now?
Wait, what'd you say?
So you're watching everything on Paramount right now then?
Yeah, we're binging through Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah!
Survivor.
Jimmy Neutron's my jam.
I love Jimmy Neutron.
That was my childhood.
Such a great show.
Oh, it's great.
But I'm wondering if I'm having the same Apple TV issues that you were having, or if it's a Paramount problem. I can't tell.
I might be able to answer that, actually, because I talked with my two friends who work at Apple.
Oh, good.
And they also have an Apple TV box. And they said if you have, I forget what it is. If you have whatever internet that isn't like basically what Randy has, being lightning.
If you don't have fiber.
If you don't have fiber, you're probably going to run into problems with the TV box where it just doesn't mesh. It doesn't load things easily or quickly or anything like that, or it just buffers for a while, whether it's on a menu or on content. So
yeah,
it's just built in. It's just an issue with the TV box.
Maybe they chose a different supplier for their networking controllers or something on the newer generation Apple TVs.
So you're also having the same problem as me then?
I don't know, because it's not consistent between the apps is the weird thing.
Yeah.
It'll play YouTube perfectly.
Yep.
I don't have any bandwidth problems with YouTube, and we're watching high quality stuff, 4K YouTube videos, and they're fine. But on Paramount, which we're watching Jimmy Neutron, which was 4:3 480p, it's not super high quality animation or anything or resolution. And last night it was buffering constantly, and I was doing speed tests on the phone and the speeds were fine and YouTube would play fine, but it would pause. Even during ads, it would pause and be stuck on the buffering, and it would continuously be stop on the buffering until I hit pause and then play again, and then it would play immediately. So it was like it would stop to buffer, but it wouldn't resume itself. It needed me to stop it and resume it again.
Jeez.
And it happened several times throughout the 20-minute episode or whatever, where it would just stop, and I would really quickly, like 2 seconds after it starts buffering, I would double click the play pause button, and then it would keep playing just fine.
Oh, jeez.
So it's like you have the data, you suck at showing it up. And also things on Paramount would load very slowly when you're just navigating the menus. It would turn all gray, things wouldn't open, and you have all the tiles that you're swiping between, but they're all gray and there's no text, so you have no clue what to select. You're like,
it doesn't have any name or anything like that, so you're just like,
yeah,
is this, I don't know, is this My Life with a Teenage Robot? I'm not too sure.
You're just guessing. And I was like, is this a Paramount problem, a T-Mobile problem, or an Apple TV problem? It's a guessing game.
So
Spin
do you think
wheel.
then, would this be solved then if the Apple TV box had an M chip in it?
I have almost no faith in the idea that this is a
They threw it in the iPad and it solved everything, right? So might as well throw it into Apple TV and say, yep,
this
solves everything.
Very much felt like a networking or an app design problem. Like I pulled up Paramount Plus on the App Store for tvOS, and it had very low reviews. Like everyone was hating on the Paramount Plus app. It doesn't tell you on the tvOS App Store what the problems are, but the ratings were like 2 stars or something out of 5. So to me, it felt like a app design problem, because I was like, the internet's fine, but I'm wondering if it's similar to what you were having, where it was just your Apple TV doesn't like this network for some reason. And because of that, it's going to be slow with certain things, but not all things, because YouTube works fine. And we don't have the same issues with Discovery Plus or
yeah, my wife doesn't have any issues with
Prime.
Discovery Plus when she watches it on the Apple TV. And that's when she only that's where she watches it exclusively. It's not even loaded on our smart TV. So she has to go.
So that makes me think it's not an internet problem. That makes me think it's a app design or networking problem.
Maybe. I'm not too sure. I have no clue. It's something that I would love to pick the brain of anyone at Apple. Just like, what the heck is going wrong with this box? It's easy. A smart TV that is so much thinner than this box can do better than what you are offering right now. And yet you tout that, oh, this thing is an arcade center and all that. Like, prove it. Can I stream Jimmy Neutron without buffering once?
I want to blame Paramount just because other apps seem to work okay, but it still feels weird that like a company of that size with that many titles, with that big a budget for streaming services can't get like basic content working. Like it's
just how it be.
That's not a thing.
I don't know. I mean, the same thing happened with the Disney Plus app with me as well. So you could argue, well, Disney has all this money too, but it could just be the handshake in between. That might be the issue. And
I guess so.
It's just something the software engineers have to pick up eventually, or it might just get weeded out eventually by the fact that the Apple TV box just gets an upgrade, whether it becomes a dongle or if they just put in the M chip or if anything else, who knows. But I think it'll get weeded out eventually. I think this is just stupid growing pains that we have right now with all the streaming services that have popped up in the last few years. And the TV box is like, whoa, okay. Yeah, we can stream this. Yeah. Right?
Right? Well, I guess what I always say when it starts buffering is you get what you pay for, because we're not paying for this. Not only did we get a free year of Paramount Plus through T-Mobile, but also because T-Mobile had the overage fee problem and I complained about it on the phone, they gave me this whole month for free. So it's like I double whammy not paying for this in so many ways.
Nice.
Maybe they're like, hey, we gave him a free month. Give him the crappy Paramount so that it doesn't run properly.
Give him the good internet, but it's crappy at streaming somehow. It's just the under megabits that they don't show you. I don't know. Stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. But
well, while they're not likely increasing spending on the Apple TV development, because it just got the USB-C serial remote, so that's our biggest refresh. I don't know if you caught the news, but apparently Bloomberg saying they're increasing their spending on Apple TV Plus content to $1 billion annually, and trying to release more movies on theatrical at the theater, not just streaming.
Interesting.
Which is like $1 billion. That could buy like one Avatar.
Or a 15th of Lucid. As we talked about in the EV podcast. But
getting into the EV market?
No, movies.
Avatar 3 exclusive rights.
The Blue People Jubilee. Yeah. Terrible rhyming. But it makes sense to me. I mean, they went lowball with the Apple TV at the very beginning, or TV Plus at the beginning. They're like, we're only going to do our own content. We're not going to buy any other content. And we're going to slowly build up this library. Now they've gotten to the point where, like, I've got people like my friends from Apple, or other people who aren't even associated with Apple that are my friends. They're like, we exclusively just watch Apple TV because or TV Plus because it has amazing titles. We love watching Severance, or of course I can't remember all the others.
I do miss Severance.
They've got a bunch of other shows that they keep on trying to sell me on. I'm like, I don't have TV Plus. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll watch it later. I'm not really interested in the premise that you're selling me right now either, but maybe I'll try it eventually whenever we get back to TV Plus.
It's probably like their best performer just based on the fact that it got the biggest price hike. Like Apple Music got like a 10% price increase, but Apple TV Plus got like a 40%. Like it went from $5 a month to $7.
Honestly, it's still a good deal. It's still a good deal for what they're offering with all the content, and to invest $1 billion in it, I think it's just the beginning.
They're just doubling down on this is going to be one of our biggest like memberships. Like this is going to be one of the more common ones. I can even visualize a lot of people that aren't interested in Apple hardware that are interested in TV Plus just for the shows and the movies that it's got going on.
I'm sure there's
that collection's
hundreds of thousands of people streaming Apple TV Plus on their Android phones and their Kindle tablets and all that. If can Kindles play streaming apps?
God.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I've never tried.
Probably.
Maybe.
I don't know if Apple has an app on there, but you can watch TV Plus on the web. I've discovered
I did not know
is a
that.
thing.
Usually they just redirect you to an app like they do with Apple Music when you search it up.
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought it would be until I was like, what if someone was on Windows or something and they wanted to watch, and there it is. Apple
Yeah, no.
TV Plus
It,
watching.
but it doesn't surprise me though. $1 billion into like actually going into like the movie business on the silver screen, which is kind of weird because it seems like everyone's been transitioning or trying to or maybe not. They've been in what's it called? Unconsciously transitioning away from the silver screen, or maybe intentionally.
Yeah.
Just because they find that people are just watching things at home. But maybe Apple's seeing a small resurgence, or at least some decent resurgence in the silver screen. So they're like, okay, maybe we'll make movies for that demographic or that audience, and we'll see how that $1 billion goes. And if it was well worth it or not. If it was, awesome. If it wasn't, then okay, we'll just invest more in TV Plus and then call it a day.
Well, at worst, I guess it just improves their catalog, right? Even if the movie doesn't do well, they just have another title under their belt to stream.
Yeah.
But I feel like the movie business is so much easier to trace through the box office. Like, okay, we made a sale for a movie ticket, whereas what people are watching versus what they're paying for on TV Plus is a lot harder to track, because it's like, okay, they watched that show, but are they subscribing to the service for that show, or did they just watch it because it was there? You know, did they like it? Did they finish it? I guess maybe they have more data on that, but it's more private. You know, like the box office stuff is a lot more public.
Maybe. I think Apple still probably has a beat on both, just because, yes, of course, they're all in on privacy, but it's all their data that they can track. So I'm sure they can.
It's anonymous data, but it's still data.
They can easily tell that it's not just Aunt Maggie watching Severance on Saturday nights. It's definitely nephew Drew hanging out on it every other weekday watching whatever, and then
that's true.
Louise watching it during the mornings and all that. Like, they could probably figure that out. So that versus tracking ticket sales, in which like it's definitely branches of branches of branches of branches that just lead down to that one person who bought a ticket at the Cinemark or the AMC or whatever.
Right.
You could, I guess, all paths lead to the end at that point, because you're just following up the branches to the center of the tree. But I don't know. I think there is definitely some gray area for TV Plus subscribers, trying to track them and those sales. But maybe this could just be an experiment for them in the end, of just like, let's see how much money we can get from making a movie for the silver screen, and whether that stacks up anywhere close to what we can do on TV Plus. And then from there, decide if it's worth it to keep on making movies for theaters, or if it maybe makes more sense to make some timed exclusives on TV Plus, kind of do very interesting specials, like make it more of like a community type of gathering digitally, some weird meta type of approach, right?
Remember when, like, wasn't Disney, I don't know if they've still done this, I haven't kept up with Disney, but didn't they do a thing where it was like, if you have Disney Plus and you pay extra, you would watch a new movie that had come out?
Yep.
Did that bomb?
I did that for what's it called, Black Widow. I think Black Widow was probably a slap in the face for Disney, because they didn't really make those agreements with the actors and the director and all the teams.
Right.
And it just blew up as a giant fiasco of, we should have negotiated this before doing it, but they're in a pandemic, so of course. And also Black Widow has taken a while to come out, so it was it was a giant.
Do they still do that, or was that just an experiment?
I don't know. They did it for a while. I'll have to I don't think so, because Wakanda Forever, they just said like, wait until February, and even so, like they had to wait for like I think a month to when they're like, now it's coming in like a month, Where
Okay.
with, like,
So they're still in favor of theatrical release and then
wait until
let some time go by and then stream it.
Yeah, which I think makes sense to me. But I think if you do it right, the other way, you can easily gain a lot of funds from, as long as like you make the agreements with the artists, or I guess the actors and the director and everyone else involved. As long as you have that in an agreement of like, we have full intent on doing digital sales on Disney Plus, where people have to pay money to watch the movie early or whatever, but you will get a cut of that. I think that's a great way to like split hairs, or at least like go in between theater and streaming, is you can track that sale in a way. At least someone's paying for it, right? At least one
that's
person.
a lot easier to track.
Yeah, I don't know if, well, yeah. Anyways,
it could be a little skewed though, because you could have 5 people all come together.
That's what I was thinking about, and that's what I was saying. Maybe never mind. But even so, $20 for 5 people to watch it versus going to the theater or whatever.
Yeah.
Where if you didn't even do that in the first place and you just took it from theater to streaming, and then people just waited for it to stream, you lost out on $20 or $15, however much you want to charge for early access to watching that. So
yeah,
I think it's still worth it at the end of the day if you want to put a price tag on it or a paywall, and that's it. I think they should. I would definitely do it right now for if Ant-Man and the Wasp, or not Ant-Man and the Wasp, but Quantumania.
Quantumania.
Yeah, because I still haven't seen it, but if like I could pay $20 today and watch it at home right now, I'd watch it tonight.
You'd rather do that.
I'd watch that right now. I don't want to go to the theater because I don't want to go all the way across town and buy a ticket and hope I have a good seat or whatever. Or I guess
you can't pause it.
Yeah, right.
You can't
pay for expensive snacks and all that. Yeah. I would rather be at home, pop my own popcorn in the cheap bag it came in the microwave, and then just sit on my own couch and watch and pause it. Yeah, so
that happened the other day. A friend of mine last week was like, "Hey, we're going to the movies to watch this," and I don't even remember what it was, but I was like, "What day is it?" It's not the cheap day. Oh, that's going to cost us like $30 to all go together and watch it. It wasn't like an action movie or anything, so I was like, I just watch that at home when it comes out on streaming in a couple months and save myself $30 and just wait a little longer, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where it's headed.
It's a very interesting line to walk, because then you can also say, well, why not just rent it like on Amazon or whatever streaming platform that allows renting, versus, I guess, paying to watch it early, but you don't get to keep it anyways. Like, for instance, I think I paid for a bunch of the Spider-Man movies when I was reviewing them on the Taylor Swift movie review thing, and I still have those on my Amazon account that I can watch them at any time. I don't think I'll watch them anytime soon, but it would have been better just to rent them at the time. I don't know. It's the mindset.
Well, now you never have to rent them again.
I never have to rent them again, but if I cancel Prime, which I don't think I'll ever do in my life, I guess, because I always see a utility in Prime for getting, we're buying stuff.
Don't you still have those even if you don't pay for Prime?
I don't know.
I think you own them for life. Yeah. I don't think you need Prime to watch those.
Can they send me a physical copy just in case?
That would be neat.
Who asked for those?
Yeah, I think there might be a bit more of a pushback with all these streaming services becoming so commonplace and increasing their prices slowly, and every year they get a little bit more, and then they introduce an ad tier, and then the price of the ad tier goes up. Like, I think Paramount Plus is raising their prices like right after we cancel. It's like it's like next month or something, and Disney Plus is raising prices too, and I'm sure that's just going to continue. So it's like I have Apple USB Super Drive on my desk actually, just because I don't want to have to dig it out of storage when we do feel like playing something on DVD.
Yeah, are we going to acknowledge the fact that you got rid of your white desk and now you've got a semi-wooden looking desk, but it's probably not an authentic wooden desk. It's probably balsa wood or whatever.
No, but it is nice. It's a very nice desk.
It matches all your
It's got
products.
Shelves.
All your products definitely mesh with it well. It's a very dark theme, space gray theme.
Yeah, I realized it's accidental a lot of the time, but yeah, we've got a lot of space gray. I got the graphite watch. I got the space gray MacBook, space gray iMac.
Black iPhone.
Not a space gray iPad, but yeah, the iPhone is space gray too. It's a cool setup. And for the record, the white desk is in the other bedroom, so
Okay.
we didn't destroy it. It's not.
Is she
complete-
okay? Is she safe? I can't do a Darth Vader. Oh,
That
No,
desk
not
was
you.
much better when.
You might want to check the conditions in the Google
That desk was much better when I had a huge office.
yeah.
Now I don't, so it's a lot more open and
I'm very surprised
free
that you
here
fit
now.
everything on there without like crowding it too much. Like it's very.
it's not like square footage wise that much different because there's lots of shelves off to the side.
Okay.
So I can store a lot of the things that used to be out on top now off, like the keyboard for my iMac Pro is in the shelf and I leave it off. And if Universal Control stops working for some reason, like I'm trying to access the other iMac with my MacBook and it's like,
Let's go to
sorry,
backup.
there's no keyboard. Yeah. I just pull out the keyboard, flip it on and fix it real quick and then turn it off and slide it back in.
Sure.
It's like perfectly made too because the shelf is just wide enough for the keyboard and the iPad to fit side by side. So I keep my iPad down there too, and my MagSafe Duo is there to charge things. My Tesla Semi is down there, of course. Bring it out for recording. All the couple adapters and things. Plus, I can more easily just grab legacy Apple products that I just keep in the shelf. So I'm like, here's a 4, here's an OG iPhone, here's the first iPad mini. I just, when we're referencing older design, I can keep it out of the way so that it's not like out on the desk, but ready to pull out and talk about it at any moment. So I decided not to downgrade the watch, but I am downgrading the desk.
I think it's
at least.
it's a nice simplification. I wouldn't say a downgrade necessarily because
Yeah.
you've earned better. Well, I guess you said it's not too far in terms of square footage of what you had. Square footage. I guess you still have the
Yeah,
same utility
that's
with the
what it is.
desk, but now you've at least desktop utility. But you've added more
Yeah.
utility on the side, so that way instead of having kind of the clutter around, it looks a lot more simpler and it looks nicer. It looks a lot more
Yes.
work friendly, I guess, a little bit less distracting. But if you need
is.
accessories to either just look at or to have for a video, it's all just underneath the desk right there.
Yeah. It makes it a lot easier, too, to just have one mouse for both computers and keyboard instead of having keyboard and mouse here, keyboard and mouse here. Now I just move over. It feels like I have an external monitor, even though I really don't. Sometimes I forget it's not a monitor, and I'll try to drag a window or an app. I'm like, oh, wait. You're your own thing. You're, like, separate. But I will admit the speakers on the iMac Pro, after all these years, are still incredible. It's a great sound system, especially when watching videos and stuff, which I use it for pretty frequently. And
Right.
it's a, dare I say, it's the best Intel Mac ever made. It was a cool Mac for the time, and I still use it. And it's a great charging hub because of all the ports it has in the back. So I just plug everything into that, and it's cool looking. I really like how thin the chassis looks from the sides and stuff. And I was like, they didn't need to redesign it to make it look thinner. It's already pretty dang thin. It just floats. It's cool. But anyway, yeah, physical media, buying things outright or whatever, I think might become more popular as people kind of get sick of all these, because it's all kind of falling back into cable TV slowly, right? Like,
oh yeah,
that's what cable was.
It's so quickly degenerating back to cable TV at this point. I'm very upset with it, with the amount of ads that you see all the time. Like, I don't own YouTube Premium or anything like that, but like I was watching, I think maybe like a 40-minute video, and it seemed like every 5 minutes an ad. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, this is insane.
I can't take it.
Like, this is just YouTube, and I'm getting 5-minute ads, or like every 5 minutes an ad. Like, it's stupid. Like, come on.
I won't budge on premium. I still have that. I will not budge on my premium.
The answer is buy premium for me, but I'm not gonna buy premium. But like a bunch of other stuff.
You need to find a bunch of people interested in premium, and then find the family plan and go divvy. That's what we do. We have like 6 people all on our account that we're all pitching in monthly. So it ends up costing $4.50 a month instead of 12 or whatever it would have cost individually.
Well, that's like
So-
my idea with like Tidal is like
Yeah.
we'll be able to have I think 6 people. I think is the whole family
Uh-huh.
plan. Is it 6 people? It doesn't say, does it? Up to
6
5
is the standard.
Yeah,
usually.
6 people. Up to 5 additional accounts. So 6 people. So like
Okay.
we thought like, yeah, like $2 more, but then we could basically, whoever wants to listen to Tidal for a month or longer, just rope them in and just say, all right, just give me whatever we want to divvy up that much, or we pay the most and they just pay their share or whatever.
Yeah.
Either or, at least like that way.
It's like the family plan discount. That's what carriers are already doing. It's like the more people that sign up, the cheaper it is. It's
Exactly.
the bulk.
So at least that's
buying
what
in
we
bulk
think with
thing.
like that. And so it'd be nice. It's just I'd have to find people for YouTube Premium, and
Yeah.
kind of hard to find someone who's like, yeah, I watch a bunch of YouTube. Yeah, sure, why not? Like it's much easier to be like,
Yeah.
oh, you have an extra slot on Disney Plus? Oh, okay, sure, I'll do
Yeah.
that. Like that's what I do with my buddy, who I think
Uh-huh.
I'll be seeing soon. But like
Mm-hmm.
we don't even charge him because we don't think he really watches any or much at all. He's too busy with other stuff. And so he just has a profile on our account and just doesn't watch it. But
You've got an asset. It's an asset there. You're
Yeah.
letting him live rent free on your Disney Plus.
perfectly
You gotta
fine. He's done a lot for us.
renting them out.
We're perfectly fine
was,
with him sliding for a bit, but otherwise, like it's kind of hard to sell YouTube Premium as a subscription versus like Disney Plus, I'd say, because at least Disney Plus, it's like high quality produced content that you know
Yeah.
what you're gonna get. Where with YouTube, it's like, do I just watch a whole bunch of jerry rig everything, or like,
Yes.
or like a whole bunch of Markiplier's like YouTube originals, like.
Yeah, there's so many like documentaries we watch, and we actually found they have a huge. I don't know if it comes with premium or not, but they have a huge free movie section.
Yes.
We watched Robots the other night.
Even
and-
without premium, they have a huge free movie thing. It's just they add ads to it, which is how they get you.
Oh, okay.
But at least
Ours
with-
didn't have ads.
Oh, I guess
but-
that's the whole nice premium thing is you don't have ads with the movie, which, that's not bad.
Yeah, and it was high. It was good quality. Let me look at this
depends what they
playlist. Free to
offer.
watch on YouTube.
Yeah. List them
Space Jam, Monsters vs. Aliens, Great Gatsby, AI, The Help, World Trade Center, Be Cool, School Day. Oh yeah, School of Rock. I was like, they
I
have
watched
School
that.
of Rock. We need to watch that.
You've named
the
off
Cable
one thing.
Guy,
that I'd watch.
Drillbit Taylor.
No.
I gotta find The Spy Next Door. I know you love that one.
Isn't that with it's not Dwayne the Rock
Jackie
Johnson.
Chan.
I was thinking of the most recent one with I think Dave Bautista. Oh, that's My Own Personal Spy or whatever it's called. I forget what.
The Perks of Being a Wall Flower.
Wallflower?
But it's just Ferngully. Oh my God, they have free Ferngully. Why did we rent that the other month? Someone else rented it, I think. That's crazy.
I have no clue what these things are that you're saying. All I recognized was School of Rock.
Oh, Blackfish, the documentary about Randy.
What?
It's the hit piece documentary on SeaWorld.
That's right.
See, I remember these things.
Oh,
But
I don't store these.
yeah, there's a bunch of free stuff. I think it's a good opportunity to gamify it. Like maybe we need to make a show for this eventually of just here's what you can watch for free through these promos, or like I just don't want to give in and just be the guy that's like, okay, I'm just going to sign up for all the different memberships and be paying $50 to $100 a month.
That's what I'm trying to
over time.
avoid on my end because we used to do that, and it's
Yeah.
like we're paying way too many subscriptions. We need to lose like
Right.
more than half.
Because if you're not keeping track of them, that's what they're counting on is like people paying for it and not utilizing it. And there's
Exactly.
probably a ton of people paying for these memberships and not watching anything on them. And that's why the membership model is so popular is they're trying to get you to forget, trying to get you to like just pay for a year without even utilizing this, or just don't think about canceling.
Well, something that
So
came up
I'm
is, at least for us, we let my mom use one of the Disney Plus profiles, but in exchange, we get to use one of her Netflix profiles. Both like the
there you
idea
go.
that Netflix is doing this whole, you need to be in the
Password
same,
sharing.
the whole password sharing thing. They're like,
Yeah.
you need to be in the same house. And I think I saw a post on Reddit or something. I don't know if this person was in the U.S., but like they framed it as if like it was new information that, oh look, I got the password sharing thing. I'm thinking if that's in the U.S., then they're rolling it out now, which means we might not be able to watch Netflix anymore. But then I realized, what are we even watching on Netflix? And like the only thing that
I feel like that's what everyone says
Yeah,
when they talk.
well, at this point,
what's
we're-
on Netflix?
we're waiting for
Oh, yeah.
the next season of or my wife's waiting for the next season of Bridgerton. I'm waiting for the next season of oh dear Lord, what's it called? It's the superhero group that
Umbrella Academy.
Umbrella Academy. We're waiting for the last season of Umbrella Academy.
I've never watched that, but I know.
Oh,
what it
it's
was.
so much fun. I love it. Every single episode is amazing.
No, I look at it as I'm making $20 a month by not being a fan of that TV show.
I guess so, yeah.
That's-
But like those are like the only
It
two
pays
things
to
that,
not watch things.
that I
You know?
could find on the list that are like, these are things that we're actively waiting for, but we can't watch right now. And then the only other thing that we're watching is like Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. And it's like, okay, well, besides that,
I liked Stranger Things, but I wouldn't pay for it. I watched the last season because we were in Hawaii and the family we were staying with had Netflix. So like, hey, there's a new season, let's watch it. But they started doing that thing where they don't release the whole thing at once.
yeah.
And I was pitching it to my friend. I was like, when does the second season come out? I think Netflix said the rest of the season drops after your next billing cycle. Like they unlock it based on your recurring, which I could almost visualize. See, I have the business brain. This is what I'm visualizing, is that you'll watch, they'll drop the first half or maybe even the first third if there's enough episodes. Okay, this is what Netflix is going to do. I'm telling you the future, Mike.
This is just,
I've got this all.
this is the theory of drugs. I give you a little bit and then it costs just a little bit, but if you want more, you're going to have to pay more.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. But I mean, they don't give you anything for free with Netflix. Like they years ago figured out the free trial was a horrible idea. Free trial means people sign up, binge things, and then leave, and then make a new email, and then get another free trial.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what they do. There's going to be 12 episodes, right, of Stranger Things season
Sure.
5. Who knows? I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Let's say there's 12 episodes. So they drop the first 4 episodes on a specific day. They say season 5 premiering April 20th or whatever. And you get your first 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
The next 4. The next 4 episodes come 1 month after May 20th, or you can unlock those sooner if you agree to pay for next month's membership up front. So you'll have 2 Netflix bills in April, but then you won't have a bill in the following month. And then you unlock the next 4 episodes if you pay for 3 months in advance. So the more bulk purchasing you make, the more content they're willing to give you at once. I guarantee you they will do something like this. This is the way of ensuring that, well, we only want you to watch this the rest of this show early if you agree to be locked in with us for the next 3 months. Then you can watch the whole thing. If not, then you're going to have to wait until your billing cycle repeats, and then we'll unlock more of the show. They're already doing it in minor, like, staggered releases. That's why Apple releases 1 episode of something at a time.
Well,
If they want to capitalize on the early access, this is basically
it's kind of
the
just
way to
following
do it.
along with what traditional TV's been. Catch up next week on the next episode of Degrassi
Yeah.
or whatever.
Except now there's a way to capitalize on early viewing, which
Yeah.
is what the movie theater process is doing. Is, you know, watch it in theaters and then you can watch it later with streaming. Is capitalize on the upfront viewer, because they're really excited, so they'll pay extra. But I mean, with all these carriers offering promos, like I'm watching Paramount through T-Mobile and everything, Verizon's offering Apple TV, whatever. Like, do you visualize how cable TV was, the $100 a month or whatever for all the channels, all this stuff. Do you think that's what the carriers are going to be? Whoever your internet provider is also provides your music and your TV channels, and
then maybe it changes year by year. So in 2024, AT&T is offering Paramount Plus with everything, but then 2025,
and we all cycle through them.
Yeah, 2025, it's T-Mobile who has Paramount, and then now AT&T has, I don't know, Disney Plus or whatever.
Right.
That'd be interesting. That I could definitely see that happening, but like on a larger scale. So instead of like yearly, it'd be like whenever, I guess, carriers and streaming services want to make these deals. So that way they get whatever business. Because of course, right now people want to make deals with T-Mobile because they just keep on buying up everyone. So that just means they have.
That's what I'm thinking. I was like, the industry has to be all headed towards this, cable TV style approach to memberships. Let's put it all.
It's all back to what
umbrella.
It was. You buy your home, and the only internet provider in your area is Charter. But what's nice is you can get this deal to get 100 channels, and you also get your telephone service, and you also get your email through it, and all this other stuff. It's just gonna be the cycle's repeating. I think you're right, Drew.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is. I don't like it, but this is just.
I don't like it.
I don't like this feature. I liked what it was a couple months ago, where Mint Mobile still existed on its own.
I will fight for MVNOs as much as possible. If Mint Mobile starts moving away from the low prices, I'll try to fight for someone else. I'll go to Visible or US Cellular or someone else and try to find They're all gonna try to rope us into this big bundle that's $100 for everything.
The Disney
but it's such a
bundle,
good value
because that's a great value now. Well, it's not bad. It depends. I don't know. At one point, I was trying to find the best way to watch all the hockey games that I could, because I just wanted to put on hockey games at night and then either surf on my phone or talk with my wife, but still have like a hockey game playing because we wanted to get into hockey. And it didn't matter whether the Sharks were playing or, I don't know, the Blackhawks or the Kraken or Vegas or whatever. Like, it didn't matter. Just put on hockey so that way we could just immerse ourselves more into it. And it was so impossible to find like the best way to watch every single hockey game because, of course, like you've got the television providers like CSNBC or whatever, and Hulu, or I guess Hulu's not a television service, but they're a streaming service. But like, it was basically impossible to watch every single hockey game unless you had a VPN that wasn't being silly, because we tried the VPN thing and it wasn't working out. We tried subscribing to like ESPN's specific like sports thing, and that didn't work out either because there were still games that we could not watch because they were considered local and all that. It's just this horrible issue where you get into the problem, which is you have to get Sling TV, and then it's all bundled TV shows there. Or at that point, you end up like with what we mentioned before. You buy all the streaming services, and that's how you watch.
You have to.
And that's how you watch everything.
You have to get them all.
It's like, no, just give me the sports plan, which means I watch, maybe not even that. Just give me the hockey plan. I just want to watch every single hockey game. Yes, I know it's probably going to cost like the same amount as someone who's paying for Netflix Family high definition or whatever, but like if it means that I get to watch all the hockey games without any issues with like it being in the same city as me, that's totally fine. But like the fact that you have to buy all these different streaming services to get the content that you want to watch all in bulk is insane. I think we're going the wrong direction. It shouldn't be going back to like the TV telephone bundled thing. It should go more towards pick and choose, or at least like having some freedom in regards to what you want to watch and like paying for that. So like, if it costs like, was it 50 cents for like every hockey game or whatever, and it adds up or whatever, like, okay, whatever. But like, if it means I know
that they'd lose too much on that is why they don't do it.
Which is,
they're trying to
dang you, capitalism.
You to pay for more. Right. That's the key. Getting people to pay for things they don't need. That's what they're all banking on, essentially.
Yeah. So that's the big frustration that I came to terms with. I think last year was that you can't.
Mm-hmm.
There's no plan that allows you to watch all the things that you want and exclude all the other things that you don't want. There's always going to be a bundle that you're stuck with. It's just
because the more freedom of choice you have, the less you'll spend.
Yep.
And that's why I think Warner Brothers is merging Discovery and HBO, because they were like, too many people just doing Discovery, not enough people doing HBO, but we own both. So if we combine the two, we could probably get more money out of people, because they'll have to pay more than what they're paying for Discovery, and they'll feel like they're getting more because HBO's included. But
right.
yeah, it's just this big annoying mess, and it's why I'm depressed by Apple getting more into it, is because it's like Apple I've always looked at as the innovative, exciting, groundbreaking technology, or
the underdog
industry.
that was moving or breaking waves in different movements.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they're kind of just jumping into the same pool that everyone else is jumping into. It's like, oh, okay.
This is why I'm more into EV content as of lately. It's like I watch more EV stuff than tech stuff, because tech is all just, refinement upon refinement upon refinement. This phone has really bright screen.
Drew, you don't get it.
Good camera.
This Pixel folds this year.
Oh, right. That's the big one.
Did you hear about that?
I'm so excited.
The folding Pixel
Yeah.
might be coming this year.
I think June. Luckily, I'll be gone in June, so I don't think I'll catch that one at all.
I won't even be in the same country as it. I don't want to be anywhere near it.
That'll be my reasoning. I was like, I'm leaving the country because a Pixel Fold is going to exist. But now, I feel like every internet provider is going to need to offer something over time. Like, they're going to all need to bundle some. Like, what do you think Starlink is going to have to offer? You get Twitter Blue included with your Starlink.
I'd be okay with that, honestly. If that means I get Twitter Blue with what I'm already paying for with Starlink, that's fine. But
the problem is your Starlink will go up in price.
It already has.
Yeah, it's gonna keep upping. But I was actually curious, because Starlink offered like a roaming option now, which is what I was always interested in from the beginning. Was like, with one piece of equipment, you could go between countries.
Mm-hmm.
You could leave the U.S. and still have Starlink access wherever you are.
Like Antarctica.
So I was looking into the terms for that, because we still have our Starlink hardware, and we're going, out of the country / I'm also not using my Starlink, but I've always had it in the back of my head. Maybe to save my father-in-law some money, I could bring the dish to him in Australia, so that he doesn't have to buy the $500, $600 equipment, but just plug it in. The problem is the roaming price costs more. So after a certain amount of time, I think it might be cheaper to buy his own equipment after like a year of subscribing to it or something.
Is it roaming if it's only used at his one location?
Okay, you might be onto something there.
Because if you're basically just giving it to him, you're basically just selling it to him in a way, but you're selling it to him for free. And then all he's doing is making an agreement with Starlink saying, I've got the hardware already because I already bought it from someone else. Can I start paying for the subscription? And they say, sure. And I don't see a problem there, unless they really, for some reason, want you to either give the dish back, which I haven't heard of that before. Unless
they don't.
Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah. So,
I literally asked them. I was like, can I return this to you and you can give it to Ukraine or something? And they were like, no.
Sure. So if you can't, then it's like, all right, well, then you're incentivizing people to either throw it away, which isn't good, or sell it to someone else so that they can activate it and use it. So I think there should be a path forward if you want to give it to your father-in-law. And if it's just staying there, like you're basically giving it to him and then you're leaving it in Australia or whatever, and then now you don't have Starlink in the U.S. If it's not going anywhere else, I don't think he should be paying for roaming if Starlink is available in Australia, which I think it is.
Yeah, it is. No, they actually have been advertising in Australia.
Okay, well then the answer is, I think the answer is just talk with customer support, right?
No, well I found the website the Starlink roam page and how it works is kind of interesting. So the price of it's basically Starlink roaming is a rebrand of Starlink for RVs or whatever.
Right.
If you remember that.
Yep.
Like the option to use it on the go. Like it's not tied to an address. So just to do that regionally, which means you can move about your country, like you can go anywhere in the US with your Starlink in Rome, that's $150 a month, which costs quite a bit more than the fixed like one address, because I think that's what, 110?
Yes, that's what I've got.
Okay. And the global option, which means you can take it out of the country, is $200 a month. So that costs quite a bit. So I was like, okay, if we signed up for the global option, I could take my equipment, go to Australia, and that would mean it costs more per month than it would cost if he ordered his own equipment on a monthly basis. But if he orders it there, he has to pay the 400 or 500. I don't know what the conversion rate is, but you have to pay an upfront fee for the residential plan just to get the equipment and the router and everything. So it gets even more interesting. Do some more math, okay? If you pay for roaming, you can pause service. You can go month to month, whereas I don't think you can do that with the residential plan. I think they're like...
So. I still have to work
You're
out some
paying-
minutia because I want to do some roaming with my Starlink soon.
Yeah,
At some
yeah.
point. And so if I'm going to do that, I have to convert, or I don't think I really convert. I just say I want to subscribe to roaming. I still have to
Yeah.
confirm with them that I can go back to residential because I don't want to like do a one-way street of
permanently.
residential to roaming
Yeah.
and then it's stuck on roaming. I'm like, no. This was originally residential. Can I go back to residential? So that's like,
It's honestly like,
That's something-
it's kind of fascinating because, you know, I remember when Starlink was all hypothetical just a few years ago. There was like no such thing as Starlink. No one was on Starlink, and they were launching these rockets, and they were like, well, one day SpaceX is going to have their own internet provider. And I was like, that's so cool. I want to be on that. So I signed up for updates on the website when I remember the first time they were like, SpaceX has launched Starlink.com, and you can put in your email address and they'll notify you when it's available. And then I signed up for it super early in the beta program, got the hardware, tested it out. It was pretty good, got worse, canceled it. I still have the hardware. It's turned into a coffee table now.
I think it's really
It's
cool
just a
that you
little-
still have that hardware because they don't make it anymore. It's a legacy dish.
That's
now.
right. That kind of makes it unique. Same with the router. It's a crappy router, but it's it's that little cyber router thing. I still have all of that, and I keep it because they're changing their policies left and right, and they're introducing new tiers and all that. But I'm like, I still think there might be a use for this hardware for someone eventually, particularly my father-in-law, because he lives out in the middle of the woods with he's totally off grid with solar and batteries and well water and all that. So I'm like, someone like him, and we plan on visiting there, and I would want to work from there. I would like to have better than... He has satellite internet now, but it's not Starlink. It's the super cheap, super slow internet you can barely do anything with. So I'm like, as V2 Starlink satellites get more commonplace, I could visualize the speeds getting much better and more stable as there's more satellites available. So I'm like, I don't think it will always suck at the speeds it's at right now. You've cut out a couple times during this call, but not too bad.
What's interesting
I can
is
still...
you see that on your end. I don't see it on my end. On my end,
Right,
it's
you have no
always
idea.
consistent. So at least like the upload maybe stops, but the download keeps going, which is
Right,
great.
the
because
download...
it gives me the appearance
was
that
my
it's working
experience.
fine the whole time.
Yes. The download has always been very consistent. The upload was always the harder experience for
Yeah,
Starlink,
I guess-
at least for me. But I think with the new satellites, that'll get better.
One little tangent before I think we get to like the crux of what you're talking about with the roaming. What's funny is I did a speed test during the cyclone that was hitting us in California,
Yeah.
and I somehow got better speeds during the crazy weather than I have ever before.
The wind is moving the bit rate.
Well, the thing is, like, usually I
wind
get
is
like
helping
around
things.
40 or 50 megabits per second just because they need more satellites up there and they can't launch
Yeah.
enough of them. So it's all pretty stifled with the amount of users trying to.
They're
use
sending
the
one
satellites.
tomorrow, by the way.
I'm sure they send one like every week at this point, or at least every other week. But
Isn't it
during
great
this-
how boring it's become?
it's wonderful how boring it is, and they land
like-
the rockets on barges, and you're
It's
like,
They launch dozens of satellites and land the rocket, and no one cares. It doesn't matter anymore. Everyone's like, it's a question for Nick. I would love to ask Nick. At what point do you think they should stop broadcasting those missions?
I don't know. I think at this point, it used to be a cool event of like, oh my goodness, they're going to launch a rocket this month.
Yeah.
Oh my god, guys, they're launching a rocket this month, and
a rocket is going into space, and now it's becoming like watching a plane land at an airport.
Well, well, you skip the step of, oh my goodness, guys, they're going to land this rocket on a barge in the middle of the ocean. Now it's just like, and here's the part where they land the rocket on the barge. Yeah, it landed. All right, see ya. It's like, what? I mean,
I used to watch them, like I was so excited for it, and now they've done over 100 in a row with no issues. So it's like, I'm sorry. It doesn't matter how technically impressive that is. After a while, you get bored watching the same thing. Same thing with a plane. It took a lot of years of innovation and trial and error and a lot of engineering to make a plane.
They're going to fly a plane today, guys. Isn't that crazy? The 747 is going to take off. And now it's like, yeah, the last 747 got made. Neat.
It'd be like Boeing live streaming the process of every plane landing, It would be so boring. It would be like, okay.
Imagine that.
We get it.
Yeah, but I guess to finish my tangent, I guess.
Yeah,
I got like 90 megabits per second during the cyclone, which was even more hilarious.
Wow.
But my wife had a good point, is because most likely a lot of other places, our place still had power for a bit before everything went to crap. But she figured that a lot of other places had their power turn off. So basically all these dishes in the general area weren't operating because the power was off, and so we had more bandwidth. So we saw now 100 megabits per second instead of 50, because or maybe not half the users, but a decent amount of users aren't using the satellites due to the storm because of power troubles. But going back to it, I don't know if you made the point with your father-in-law having the roaming option, because he travels a lot, or it sounds like he travels a lot. He could get away with paying less because he only has to pay $150 a month for when he's home, or maybe 200
now.
I guess 200 a month when he's home. And then when he's not home, of course, why pay for internet? Just turn it off.
Just pause the service when you're gone. That's why it makes the which is cheaper. Is it cheaper for him to buy his own equipment or for us to give him ours? It's kind of up in the air. It's kind of interesting to figure out what would make more sense. I don't know.
You should definitely do the calc and figure it out, and then see if SpaceX, Starlink, whatever, the team behind the dishes, if they are okay with you taking a V1 dish to Australia for him to use as a global roaming Starlink dish, and then I guess that's it. You don't really divulge anything else. But
that would be cool. The interesting thing, I don't know if I talked about this publicly, but when T-Mobile ticked me off the other day, I reached out to Starlink just to see.
Oh my goodness!
Because originally they said on your residential plan you cannot pause service. You have to keep paying for it. So I was expecting that if I cancel, I can't come back. So I reached out to Starlink support, even though I haven't paid a Starlink bill in over a year. I haven't used the service at all. I still have the app. I messaged them and I was like, hey, I have an old V1 round dish. Does this still work? Can I reactivate service today if I wanted to? And I told them where I was in my region and whatever. And they said, yes, right now we're not quite at capacity in your area. So if you want, you can reactivate service. So I was like, okay, they said you can't pause service, but I kind of paused service because they technically said that they could reactivate it if I wanted to.
I wouldn't say it's paused. You pretty much canceled, but they didn't want to take the hardware back. So it would be a reactivation then, and I guess in my eyes, but they might see it another way. Anyways, sorry.
I see that as close to pausing because it means I
Oui.
had the service, I stopped paying for it, and now I have the option to resume, which I don't know, just makes me wonder, like, could I get away with, because the goal obviously would be to get the residential plan for cheaper in Australia.
Sure.
That way you're not paying the 200 a month, but I guess then you can't pause it. So there's the answer to the equation is it probably depends on how regularly you'll be in that location.
Right.
Like maybe if you're there 6 months out of the year, it's cheaper to buy your own, but if you're there 4 months out of the year, it's actually cheaper to use the old hardware. It'd be a cool math equation to figure out, but
I think
I hear that Starlink is way more competitive. Like they can't get enough people to sign up for it in Australia, so they're offering more discounts and more sales, like half off the hardware.
You know, what
So-
might help is maybe looking at forums to see if Australians have been trying to buy dishes from the United States and then ship them to Australia and seeing if that works. Because if that does work, then
That would be interesting.
easy win for you. You just take the V1 dish if it works to Australia, and then just have your dad say, "Hey," or your father-in-law say, "Hey, I have
Yeah.
this dish. It's one of yours. It's just an older one. Can we activate it?" And they'd probably be like,
Yeah.
"Yes, give us money, please."
That would be the hope. I guess you're right. That would be the best way of going about it. Because if that doesn't work, worst comes to worst, you can just sign up for Roam and
Sure.
do the global option so that it works wherever. I think I'll need a power adapter because it's not the same outlet
that's
there.
an easy problem to solve. You can do that with any trip. Just where's the power adapter for my US to Australia plug or whatever, or the other way around. Yeah.
I feel bad having all this Starlink hardware sitting around, but I'm not willing to pay the $110 a month to use it because I know it's not going to be as good as T-Mobile. So I'm like trying to find a good home for it.
Sure.
And I feel like that would be a great way for us to continue using it without keeping it here.
Oh, of course.
And
Keeping it in the family,
having
but
Yeah.
still it being used instead of just collecting dust in the corner.
right. Because we've talked about doing longer distance trips there since we have family there that I've never met, or that, no, they came for the wedding. We saw them, but there's people we haven't seen in years, and some parts of the family I haven't met down there. So we've talked about potentially like being in Australia for several months.
Sure.
And I was like, well, if we were staying, in that case, we would be staying at my dad's place, dad-in-law, and we need to have much faster internet than what he currently has.
Right.
Because he's basically just sending texts with his current internet.
5 megabits
So
per second.
Right. Yeah. It's super slow. It's that, what do you call it? Viasat or something.
HughesNet or whatever.
It's not fast. Yeah, HughesNet. It's got a data cap, and oh wait, Starlink has a data cap now, doesn't it?
It does, but that's only if you're doing egregious amounts of uploading and downloading.
It's like a terabyte.
Yeah.
I might do that.
I don't know.
might hit
You
that.
could also consider
But-
if you don't maybe you don't foresee, but you do foresee doing more traveling in the U.S. to use it as your own roaming dish. So that way, wherever you go with Pearl and your wife, you could bring
True.
along Dishy McFlatface and just you can. What would be really cool is streaming in the middle of like the Arizona desert next to all the cool plateaus and all that.
True.
Just getting a really fantastic green screen background and but not
Yeah,
kind of doing
that's true.
just being able to go wherever, and that way you can just live wherever you want. I mean, that's kind of the allure of what we had with it, is like if we ever move, we can just take our internet with us, and then in the case that we find a place that is better, then we might just keep the Starlink there, or if it's got better internet, then we sell it. But we like having that freedom of, we don't have to worry about canceling the internet and returning the hardware. We just take it with
Right.
us, and if we're doing a road trip, it comes with us. Otherwise, we just have to worry about selling it. And if like it's that competitive in Australia and they allow for reselling in that regard, then it's already like a done deal. If we don't want Starlink anymore, there's someone in Australia who will buy it for a crazy amount, maybe, or at least like a decent amount, something that you might not get here in the States, or you can maybe find someone in the States. So who knows? I think Starlink
Yeah.
is a great investment for if you want to travel and still have internet and not have to rely on other people's internet at hotels or parking lots or whatever like that, or just
I think 5G internet will be its biggest competitor, like
Right.
cellular, because I've had friends that travel cross country in an RV and they use T-Mobile home internet. They just bring that with them and it connects to the nearby towers as they're moving, which they don't recommend, but you can do it.
It's great for if you're
but
near
there's-
metropolises, but if you're out in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
what's it going to connect
True.
to? I guess
Yeah, Starlink is a lot more versatile with that. Just can you see the sky?
they're
Okay,
kind of
you're
inverses
connected.
of each other, really. The T-Mobile
Mm-hmm.
home internet does great in the city and does bad in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere, where Starlink does great in the middle of nowhere, but bad in the
True.
city just because of how many
Yeah.
people might have it already in the city. So
Right.
the bandwidth is already full.
And with the new satellite, the new V2 satellites, I think Starlink will just progressively get better at higher bandwidth and more capacity and stuff. And
Sure.
over time, I think it'll be really streamlined and start to become a lot more commonplace to just be like, yep, just point this dish up. And because SpaceX is the launch provider and everything, and they can lower the price more than anybody, that's when they could probably start bringing Starlink prices down to be more competitive so that people actually consider it and compare it to 5G internet or
Sure. I think their
home
only
Wi-Fi.
big their biggest weakness right now is actually celestial problems, or at least solar problems. Being, what was it? I think scientists are saying that there's a big solar storm heading towards Earth soon, and we're gonna see some crazy aurora borealis lower in the latitudes or I guess the latitudes.
yeah.
Which is cool, but solar storms usually mean bad news for satellites. So
True.
SpaceX has their own issues to worry about. Like, yeah, if a storm hits a city, that's a bummer, but it's not like taking out all your all your towers. You've got many
Right.
in many other places. But with
Yeah.
space, it's gonna wrap around the whole entire globe, or at least the front of it, and because your satellites orbit around, they're gonna get into that path eventually where they're being fully exposed to the solar storm. And there
Yeah.
it goes, it gets fried. So it's inevitable that a whole bunch of these satellites are going to get taken out by solar storms. So that's something that SpaceX has to really worry about that towers don't. So that's
True.
That's my main worry, like in this very current moment right now, because a solar storm is coming. So I'm like, does this mean I only get 5 megabits per second again, and I have to wait for
Yeah.
many months until Starlink or SpaceX catches up? Or
Right. I'll be curious to see the outcome of that. That will be kind of weird.
does this make me a bigger fan of what's it called, of Starship, just because it'll be able to carry more satellites? Or am I just gonna be that more annoyed by it? I'm just gonna be like, I'm already in the city all the time. T-Mobile home internet's enough.
Yeah. They already have a finite lifespan where they die out after so many years anyway. So they know that they have to have a supply chain in place to consistently be launching them. There's not like okay, they're all up there, we're done. It's like a constant replacement and service and upgrade process. So Starship will accelerate that by being able to launch probably a couple hundred at a time rather than just 60 or whatever. So they can replace them and deploy them at much higher scale. But yeah, Starship timelines are about as trustworthy as
Everyone's
Tesla
waiting
Roadster.
for it. NASA's waiting for it. Starlink users are waiting for it. It's insane.
It's just gonna explode.
What I can't wait. I guess dipping into a little bit of the space stuff, like I can't wait to see these rockets explode, just because these things are the size of like giant grain silos, and it's going to be a very spectacular fail. I mean, it's going to be terrible for the amount of cost it is. I think, what was it, like Mr. Beast highlighted it in like one of his reaction videos recently, of like, oh yeah, this was like a $200 million explosion or whatever. It's like, oh, yikes. Like, kind of realizing there's a dollar amount to these explosions. They're really really beautiful, but like,
entertainment guaranteed.
yeah, I guess it'll be as entertaining as Falcon 9's exploding, except they're bigger. But I don't know.
True.
it'll be interesting to see what happens with internet and what solution will be, I guess, the most, not just profitable, but the most widespread. Whether you see a lot more 5G towers spread out among metropolises, or at least even to where you just put them on like trains at this point. So then you always have some type of coverage.
I noticed that on my last train trip. You lost signal in the tunnels and stuff.
But like being able to somehow provide internet everywhere is like, I guess, the name of the game these days, because we're only getting more integrated with tech. So why not put it on the backpack? Put the 5G tower on the backpack. Why not? I mean, you're
very well connected.
Carrying around your devices everywhere. Might as well put the giant receiver on you, because we already did it on cars. We put giant radio antennae on cars just so that way we can get our sports and radio stations wherever we went, instead of having to go home and immediately turn on the receiver. And there you go. Instead, it's already in the car. So might as well put 5G towers in cars.
We're well on our way.
We're getting there. We're getting to something.
Well, do you have any last thoughts?
Next week, maybe.
How about them yellow iPhones?
It's the Easter
Compass
iPhone.
yellow.
Oh, compass. Yeah. I guess I haven't worn the shirt in a while. I'm wearing a compass yellow Rivian shirt, by the way, for those who are
he's
just
celebrating the yellow iPhone launch.
Oh, of course. Even though it actually looks a lot more yellow I'm seeing on the screen than it is in person. In person, it's a little bit more muted. It looks a lot more, I guess, brighter. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
OBS
I remember seeing
or
it
Discord
in person.
or whoever's picking it up a little bit more hues versus what is actually there. But
weird.
No, otherwise, maybe I have some news in a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
We'll see if we get something. But no, it's cool. It gives us a chance to catch up on the Starlink stuff, which I'm interested in, but I know the audience isn't as excited maybe as I am.
That's why we put it at the end of this.
Yeah. We save it. Thank you, Riley, by the way, for doing all the time codes and
thanks again. It helps
chapters.
us a lot.
This was probably a difficult one for Riley.
Oh yeah, good luck with when I introduce Apple Music and then we immediately go back to something else and then jump back to it. That's gonna be fun.
He's gonna have to edit this one. We appreciate you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.